Julius, it's lovely to meet you. This is Julius Asal, who is soon heading over to Vancouver to make his Canadian debut with us. And I'm so excited. You know, Julius, I think maybe I booked this concert 2 years ago. And I just been waiting and waiting and waiting. Have you been to North America before?
This is my first time I'm in Canada, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're coming. And you know what I know, first of all, you have a really wonderful and interesting biography, which is not like many artists. And with many artists, all you get is they were a brilliant child, they studied with so and so and so and so, and then they've had these orchestra engagements and they've played these it's just a list. But yours has actually got meat on the bones. And one of the things I want to ask you about is the biography says you started playing on the piano before you even talked. Is that true, or can you remember that?
I think it is true, but I cannot really remember because I was too young. I honestly don't remember a childhood without playing the piano.
You come from a family of musicians, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
My mother is a pianist, and we had a piano in the living room. So I think that was also the main reason for this early discovery. I was just, so interested in those keys. And, the good thing about the piano compared to, let's say, a violin or a cello is that the first attempts are already kind of successful. It makes a nice sound. So it's something that's probably also motivating for a young child to go on. So yeah, my father is a clarinet player. He was in the Frankfurt Opera and a professor at the university. And my brother is a jazz and pop drummer. My grandma was a pop singer. So like everywhere in all different kinds of facets, which is beautiful. It's a good feeling to know that I come from this musical surrounding where people understand what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yes, that's incredible. And so you obviously decided right away that it was the piano was the instrument for you, right?
Yeah, but to be honest, I don't really remember making a decision. Not that anyone else would have done it for me, but I just never questioned that part of my life. It was clear that piano playing is my main thing, my way to go through the day, like brushing your teeth.
Yeah. And tell me, I was going to ask you a question while you were talking there. Oh, was your mother your first teacher?
No, fortunately not. We never mixed those roles. She was my mom, and that's the best thing. And I think it was very healthy for our relationship as like mom and son.
Yes. Yes. So how old were you when you started piano lessons?
I think 8 years old. Then I was already playing the piano a lot. I played Beethoven sonatas by ear, just listening to my mom giving piano lessons also. And so I was just trying to really go into or like follow what I was listening to. And that was my first years playing the piano were actually led by just playing after ear. And then in the age of 8, I got my first piano lessons, very playful actually, no scales. It was, and that came later. Like all this technical aspect was probably from the age of 11, 10, 11. And yeah.
And so that first teacher that you had to teach you to read music, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Was the fact that you could play so easily by ear and you could, was it then complicated for you to play the same pieces but reading it from the music?
Not really, but I remember it was kind of weird that I was already playing kind of complex pieces. And then adding this new layer, which is essential, was also partly frustrating in the beginning. But yeah, your question is very interesting. I don't really remember enough to really give an answer.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a child, you know, I mean, I'm very old, but my earliest memories are sitting at a piano and just, sitting and playing anything. But I started lessons at the age of 5. So, but I know, for example, when I was teaching later on, if I had students who had really good ears and could play things once they've heard them, sometimes the details in the actual music would fall by the wayside. And I found it a challenge to teach them. But anyway, it's fantastic. And of course, I read that you still improvise. You love to improvise.
Yes, I do. I kind of found my way back to it a few years ago, because obviously that was the beginning of everything. My idea of piano playing was not to learn a scale or um, to read a sonata by Haydn and then learn it to learn to play it without any mistake. For me, it was just having an idea and trying to make it real to find it. So then there was this kind of regular time where just what everyone had, like, was going through piano lessons, competitions, and honestly there was not enough time to really to I sometimes feel like I'm swimming. I'm just swimming in a huge lake, and there was not that much swimming from the age of, let's say, 16 to maybe 24. But then also partly through the new collaboration with Deutsche Grammophon, I felt like I was being encouraged to come back to that aspect, and it's been one of the best feelings I know, really.
That's wonderful. And how did the Deutsche Grammophon thing come up? Were you surprised when it happened?
Yeah, I was so surprised. I didn't even dare to dream of such a new chapter in my life, but it suddenly happened. They reached out to my management, and I think they have met before without me. And then, yeah, but none of us really made an attempt to contact them. It was them who, I think, listened to my first album that I recorded with IBS Classical in Spain. Wonderful independent label from Granada, and I think I was just very lucky. I was so lucky.
You know what? So am I. I was lucky too in what I'm doing. But what was your first album? What did you record?
My debut album was a Prokofiev album. I recorded early piano pieces, Opus 4, with a very famous Suggestion Diabolique, about the whole cycle. There's 4 pieces, and then the bit later, Pensée. That was, if I remember correctly, the time when he was just about to go back to the Soviet Union because he missed it so much. He had a good life in Paris, but still he missed home. And the main thing of the album is Romeo and Juliet, this amazing ballet music. Uh, Prokofiev himself transcribed 10 pieces, like 10 best of scenes, like a collection of flowers for the piano. But I always felt there are so many amazing moments in the original version that are not transcribed for piano. So I transcribed 6 own pieces, or 6 more scenes. And yeah, so that's been a very personal project. I still really love to remember that time. And it was during the COVID time. So it was, I had a lot of time to really focus on that.
Yes, yeah. And Julius, so then your first recording for Deutsche Grammophon was Scarlatti, wasn't it? And how did you get? Did they suggest Scarlatti, or did you say I want to record Scarlatti, or how did that come about?
It was actually Scarlatti and Scriabin. So for me, in the beginning, it was actually my wish was to do Scriabin's first piano sonata, because I think it's a very underrated piece. it's quite strange that a first sonata of this quality of a composer that is well known is not much more often played. Um, so I always loved this sonata. I grew up with the Decca recording of all the 10 sonatas by Vladimir Ashkenazy, um, which is very special, I think, very like metal-like sound. I was deeply impressed when I was very young. So I grew up with this recording and always loved the first sonata in particular. So yeah, that was kind of the heart piece of the album. And then I was just kind of sewing around this carpet. Um, and the idea to mix Scriabin and Scarlatti was very intuitive. And obviously, these are two composers that not necessarily work together, but to find certain moments in their work, some lights that could have a correspondence or like some interesting new context that they built together. That was just something that really captured me, and luckily also my team, my wonderful producer, and we just yeah, we gave it a try.
That's wonderful. That's exciting. You know, that from my perspective, I've been presenting concerts for 40, next season will be the 47th season. And in all the years, so, and always when I started out, the focus was what we call the next generation of artists, of young. I always wanted to bring young musicians. And actually, I'm fascinated by the fact that you are now coming because you are the next generation of the next generation. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Um, Andras Schiff made his Canadian debut here on this series when he was very young. And so did your other mentor, Eldar Nevelson.
Really? Oh, that's wonderful.
Isn't that amazing? So, I mean, you are truly the next generation. I got so excited when I read about that. And I think Eldar Nevelson played in 1992 and Anders played in 1983. So I know, and both of those concerts were absolutely extraordinary. I mean, they are standouts in all the years, you know, that I've been presenting concerts. So yeah. And furthermore, to just for 1 second to go back to Scarlatti, uh, I don't know why, but Scarlatti has not been performed often on our series. But I remember driving down to Seattle to hear a performance that Andras did, and the whole concert was Scarlatti. And it was absolutely amazing. So, yeah, I just love Scarlatti. I really do. So, you've chosen a very interesting program for your Vancouver concert. How does that come about?
For the first half of the concert, I really love the kind of balance that exists through Bartok and Brahms. I chose early Bartok and early Brahms pieces. With Bartok, it's really interesting that during the time of this suite for piano, Opus 14, he kind of changed his style. He really found more and more his own voice. Um, I don't want to go too much into detail, but it's very interesting to look at the material that he's using, partly also from a trip to Africa. And yeah, this is, but with the Brahms, I feel like, and maybe that's something other pianists would answer completely differently. But for me, this Opus 10, the ballads, kind of already captures so much of the late Brahms, some inner vision that he was probably not even aware himself. But I really feel it, especially in this Edward ballad, the first piece. Um, so just interesting to see where composers start their journey and then find a mixture between these two early composer states. So yeah, and bring the Brahms into the center between two Bartok cycles that, especially the second one, I think is very underrated. The three burlesques are, I think, Opus 8C, which is part of a bigger like Opus 8 collection. There are also Romanian dances, if I'm not mistaken, and two elegies. Amazing music. It's not very popular, but I just love the idea to frame Brahms with Bartok. And I, even when I played it the last time uh, in Frankfurt at Alte Oper, I actually went from the Bartok suite, which ends very, yeah, surprisingly soft and ethereal, went directly dived uh, into D minor without any break in between. People were not clapping, it was just like going into, and I really loved, maybe sometimes, I don't know, you try things, you do an experiment, sometimes goes well, sometimes probably not, or you're changing your mind. Maybe probably in a few years I'll think like, what was that? But I really love to look for a new context that appears once you really glue things together, or you change their normal inhabitat. I don't know if that's, yeah, the right way to express it. So yeah, and the second half is Rachmaninoff Opus 32, these 13 preludes that kind of complete the idea of 24 preludes. Uh, that was Ravel's, no, sorry, that was Chopin's idea already. And Rachmaninoff wrote this early C sharp minor prelude, and then the 10 preludes, Opus 23. And this Opus 32 actually for me is more than just um, the completing parts to 24, but it's just very so complex and so rich, and small universes within this miniature idea of a prelude. Um, I love that cycle, really.
That's amazing. Now, are there any composers that you don't feel comfortable playing?
What a private question.
Yeah.
um, Let me think. There are some composers I'm usually struggling with. Recently, I had a wonderful experience with Mozart, because Mozart used to be one of the hardest composers for me to play. I enjoy so much listening to his music, but to perform it on stage was something I was very afraid of. And I was very lucky to have the chance to play his also not quite popular 22nd piano concerto in E flat major, one of the longest, if not the longest. Um, and I had such a good time experiencing Mozart for myself and going on stage and feeling that I can have a connection with Mozart that feels very close to yeah, what he probably wanted to hear. I don't really know. That's always the balance, right? You try to be as close as possible to what the composer left, but at the same time finding your own voice. And I felt, um, yeah, I felt very, how can I say that? I had a really good time.
Well, I mean, actually, when you bring up the thing of what the composer heard when, like Mozart would have heard when he was playing his music, of course, the pianos were different. I mean, everything was so different, and we can try to imagine what he heard. I mean, he would have been playing on a forte piano, wouldn't he?
Mhm. Mhm.
And the range of sound there is so different. I always think, I mean, when you talk about Mozart, when young artists, they want to come and play for me sometimes, maybe they want a concert or whatever. Uh, I I hate it when they come in and say, "Well, we're going to play Liszt or Rachmaninoff," or I mean, not that I hate Rachmaninoff, but it's not. You can't really tell very much. I feel that I can tell what a pianist is like when they're playing Schubert or Mozart, or you can get a true reading of the soul of the pianist in that music, because it's so exposed, and you can't get away with anything in those two composers.
That's so right. I was about to mention Schubert as well. Usually when I'm playing Schubert, but the same thing for Mozart, although it's very different. But you go on stage and you feel like, can someone give me some clothes, please? Like I feel completely naked
Yes,
and exposed.
yes,
And the funny thing, especially about Mozart, I think, is that people might think, wow, this music is super easy, like only a few notes. That's okay. And it's just crazy if you compare it to Rachmaninoff, which I think is also very underrated. People think it's just a cheesy Russian composer. He's so much more. But let's take Rachmaninoff or Liszt. Um, it sounds terribly, impossibly difficult sometimes, and it's so really, really hard to to explain why the other parts like Mozart is something that will never really feel satisfyingly perfect, or you can reach that state of that's probably it, because is as close as you might get. There's always a mile to go in the simple way of just finding no it's just finding some simplicity. It's really hard. You hear I'm struggling to express how hard it is because it's impossible. um But yeah, I completely agree with you. I really agree with you.
I've had I've had two piano experiences in the past year that have been revelatory for me. One of them was last year when I went over to Victoria, which is a ferry ride away from Vancouver, to hear a pianist that I absolutely adore. And he's coming to us next season again. His name is Bensu Son. He's actually the teacher of Yun Chan Lin. But he played Rachmaninoff, a whole Rachman. And I felt as though I was hearing Rachmaninoff for the first time, because it was so in your face and all over the place. He was making music. I heard things I'd never heard. And then earlier just at the end, in our own concert, last November, Jean Selim Abdelmullah came with Maciej Kulikowski, the cellist, and they played the cello version of oh God, the Franck Sonata. And it was the first time in my life that I've heard that piece sound like a French piece of music. The piano was not all over the place, in your face. Look how wonderful these runs are. It was extraordinary. So that what you're talking about, what you're trying to get when you're playing is, I guess from my perspective, and I like to think that the audience that the VRS has is a knowledgeable audience. I mean, they come to 47 years, they've been coming to concerts by artists they've never heard of. They're willing to take a risk. They come for the music, and I think they have really good taste. And I'm just so happy with they're knowledgeable, and they know what's good, and they know what they don't like. Are most of your concerts recitals, or do you play quite a bit of concerto, and you do much chamber music? You must have done chamber music at the school in outside Frankfurt. They've just got a
Kronberg Academy. Yeah, and also before I did a lot of chamber music, and I feel like I've learned probably the most through it, to communicate, to let music speak, which is something I can easily transfer to the time you're spending on stage just as a solo pianist, because in the end it's all about communication through the music, with yourself, with the audience, between left and right hand, I don't know, and voicings and finding climax points all these things, talking about music. This is something that's so essential in chamber music. So um, recently, I've been focusing much more on recitals and also orchestral performances. So, but I really enjoy every opportunity to make chamber music.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to be able to do that, and it just I mean it opens up your ears, and the repertoire is so extraordinary.
It is, yeah.
So, do you have a busy season coming up?
Yeah, kind of. I will also record my new album, which is in preparation. So yeah, it's quite busy. And yeah, also sometimes trying to have some days around. Maybe I think I'll have one spare day before my concert in Vancouver. So always trying to see new places as well and to use the chance. But yeah.
How did you get to Kronberg? How did that come up?
I met Anders Schiff through a few chamber music projects before. So I think it was in Bonn. We did the week of Beethoven chamber music. And I played with my former duo partner, violinist Anneliesa Kramp. Um, we did some Beethoven sonatas for piano and violin. And Andras was teaching us, and in the end, I think it was on the rooftop having a drink just after the final concert, and he asked me if I can imagine or just would like to come to Kronberg to yeah, work with them to yeah, have more musical exchange. That was wonderful, and I think 2 years later it happened. I first finished my studies with Elder at Hans Eisler, Berlin, and then yeah, found my way to Kronberg.
Well, Kronberg is actually not far from where you were raised, right? It's near
That's
Frankfurt.
true. It's always been um, kind of, I wouldn't say ambivalent, but and not even mixed feelings, but it was much more than just the place where I get my yeah piano lessons or chamber music lessons, but it was something. Yeah, it's also weird if you imagine there's like these students are coming from all over the world. And I was just growing up next to this small town, which was really strange sometimes. But yeah, it was just a coincidence.
Kronberg hasn't been around for a long, long time, has it? It's a relatively new institution.
This institution, yeah, I mean, the town is quite old and beautiful. We still, yeah, it's the old town is beautiful. I can encourage everyone to take some time and visit. But the academy, I should know, but yeah, but not too short actually. Definitely over 2 decades.
And they've just built a wonderful concert hall, I gather.
This hall is amazing. It's really, really good.
Do you know how many it seats?
I think 550 or something like that. Um, I was very lucky to be the first one actually playing in it when they had these acoustic tests.
You're kidding.
It was,
Oh,
and I played with another cellist and also some solo piano. They just really they invited some musicians to have a test run to see if they're going into the right direction or the direction they were like aiming for, acoustic wise, and also I think was it the first concert, one of the first inaugural concerts. I was very lucky to I think it was Dvorak piano quintet that I played to just open the hall. So yeah, it was a very special time coming from this little church up the hill, which was so tiny but very cute, and always felt very special to be there. Kronberg Academy was just a very tiny exclusive place, and you would always meet amazing musicians, and then suddenly it exploded and this huge incredible place appeared. That was really cool.
yes. I mean, my dream is one day to come to Kronberg and just be able to attend some of the performances. And was Stephen Varts at Kronberg when you were there, or was he before
Yeah,
you?
we have met in Kronberg. um yeah, we sometimes played together. I think we did, what was it, some quintets. I remember we did quintets together. Was it Schnittke or maybe also Dvorak? Dvorak or Suk Quint. I think Suk Quintet, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
But yeah, many years ago.
Yeah.
I love his playing.
Yes, yes. And he's a lovely person as well.
He is.
I love,
he is.
you
indeed.
know what? He plays like he is. He's fabulous. Yeah, he's really a delight to be with. Well, I think I've taken a lot of your time.
It was so nice to already meet you here.
Yes, and we're really looking forward to having you in Vancouver. Do you like Japanese food?
That's my favorite.
Oh, okay. Well, then, because Vancouver is famous for Japanese food.
Oh, wow.
There are really great restaurants in Vancouver, but I think Japanese is the top of the top. And of course, there's lots of Chinese restaurants. It's a very, as far as food is concerned, you can get great food from anywhere in the city.
Amazing. So now I'm even more looking forward.
Okay, well, just remember to bring your raincoat.
I will.
I will be at the airport to meet you when you arrive.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward.
Okay.
Glad to meet you online and see you very soon in person.
Safe travels.
Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.